Have you ever walked into a place, fully present flesh and bone, standing tall in the middle of the room, and yet felt completely invisible? Not in some philosophical, we're all just stardust in the vast universe kind of way. I mean literally, you're there, breathing, alive, and people look right through you like you're nothing but air. Yeah, that was today. Jerome Wilson, age 47, CEO of a nationwide luxury hotel chain. A man who built a billion-dollar empire from nothing but grit and hustle. A name spoken in investor circles with reverence. And now, he was standing at the front desk of the very hotel he founded, one of the crown jewels of the Wilson Lux chain, being treated like a homeless man asking for a place to crash. He wasn't here to make a scene, just a quiet, unannounced site visit. No entourage, no black SUV. Just a middle-aged man in a worn brown jacket, faded khakis, and a baseball cap pulled low. Why? Because the executive reports didn't match reality. Because loyal guests, once praising Wilson Lux as the epitome of royal service, thus had begun complaining. Indifference, cold attitudes, and even discriminatory behavior. And Jerome, who grew up in a working-class neighborhood where respect was earned the hard way, knew that when something starts to rot, it doesn't make noise. It seeps quietly, subtly. So he came here to hear the speech. The hotel lobby was a world of its own. Polished, extravagant black mahogany furniture, crystal chandeliers dripping like diamonds from high ceilings. Soft jazz hummed from speakers, hidden behind marble walls. And yet, in the middle of all that elegance, sat a young receptionist named Kim, early 20s, blonde ponytail, cherry red nails, leaned back in her chair, scrolling on her phone, expression cold as steel. Jerome stood there. 3 full minutes, no greeting, no eye contact, not a flicker of acknowledgement. He cleared his throat gently. No reaction. He tapped on the counter. Kim sighed, loudly, as if he had interrupted the climax of her favorite live stream. Finally, she looked up, her eyes dull and empty. Yeah? One word. No. Good evening. No. How may I help you? No smile. Jerome tilted his head, hiding, the irritation rising in his chest. He responded calmly, I have a reservation. Name's Jerome Wilson. Kim glanced at her computer, tapped a few keys like she was trying to access a CIA database, then shrugged. Don't see it. Jerome's brow furrowed slightly. You sure? Very sure, Kim replied, eyes glued back to her phone. Voice dripping with condescension like she was talking to a toddler who'd spilled milk. And in that moment, Jerome knew this wasn't a system glitch. This was intentional. He stayed composed, pulled out his phone, opened the confirmation email, and held it out for her to see. Here's the confirmation. Booked 4 days ago, from your official system. Kim glanced for half a second, then said flatly, You probably booked the wrong location. Happens all the time. Jerome gave a small laugh. Dry. Humorless. Are you suggesting I got lost? Kim scoffed, her eyes scanning him like he was just some clueless old man who didn't know how to use a booking app. I'm saying, people mix up locations all the time. Jerome clenched his jaw. She had just erased him, not from the system, but from respect. No second check, no real verification. Just one look at his worn jacket and bargain cap, and she'd decided he didn't belong. He'd felt that before, but this time, he wasn't going to let it slide. Jerome pulled out a second phone, this one with full access to the hotel's internal systems. He entered his security credentials and opened the reservation log, and there it was. His name, clear as day. Reservation confirmed. Booking complete. Then he scrolled to the activity log. Reservation deleted. User Kim.T.Jerome. Narrowed his eyes, then slowly looked up at the name tag on her chest. Kim. He gave a slight nod. Game on, Kim. Jerome took a deep breath, forcing down the fury rising in his chest. He set the phone on the counter, slowly turning the screen toward Kim. His voice remained low and composed, but behind it there was a storm waiting to break loose. "Do you know what happens when a reservation is deleted from the system, Kim?" Kim looked up. For the first time since this entire interaction began, a flicker of fear crossed her eyes. It just gets removed from the list," she murmured, her voice softer now, fingers twitching slightly against the edge of the counter. Jerome nodded slowly. "And who has the authority to do that?" "Only front desk staff," she whispered, barely audible. "Staff? Like you?" Kim swallowed hard. Jerome reached out and tapped the screen. The line lit up like blood on snow. Deleted by Kim. "So, tell me, Kim, why did you delete my reservation?" Kim opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Her lips moved. Eyes darted, desperate to find an escape. Any excuse, any lifeline. But it was too late. Jerome narrowed his eyes. "Don't bother. I've heard stories like this 100 times before. But this one's mine." He straightened up, tall, solid, unshakable. His gaze bored into her like a drill through steel. "Here's what's going to happen now. You're going to rebook that room, right now." It was like a switch flipped. Kim jolted into motion, fingers trembling as they danced across the keyboard, typing so fast it sounded like an old-school typewriter. "Yes? I found a room," she stammered. Jerome tilted his head. "Which room?" "1427, sir." Jerome let out a quiet laugh, not amused. Just disgusted. "Room 1427, second to last room on the 14th floor, right next to the elevator, beside the utility closet. A lovely view of the hotel's back dumpsters. And at night, constant noise from the industrial HVAC units." Did she really think he didn't know? He stepped closer to the counter, leaning, in just enough so that no one else could hear. "Kim, be honest. Do I look stupid to you?" Her head shot up, face pale as paper. "No. That's not what I—" "Then why would you assign me the worst room in the hotel I designed?" She trembled. Across the lobby, staff began to glance over. A few guests on the nearby couches had stopped talking. A bellboy in the corner adjusted his tie for the third time. Jerome said nothing else. He reached out, took the room key card, and turned away. But this wasn't the end. No. This was only the beginning. Jerome stepped into the elevator. The soft amber lights cast half his face in shadow, half in light, like a judge about to deliver a sentence. The doors slid shut behind him, sealing off the noise of the lobby and leaving him in a cocoon of silence. He pulled out his laptop from his backpack, set it down on the glass desk in the room, and opened it. Logging in with the highest level, credentials, access privileges that Kim, or even the local manager, had no idea existed. First stop, the system logs, front desk activity, guest complaint notes, anonymous employee reports, Kim T. Her name was everywhere, like footprints in fresh snow. Turned away a guest for not having a credit card, didn't verify ID. Accused of racial bias at check-in, anonymous guest report. Assigned the wrong room to an elderly female guest, resulting in cancellation and complaint. Deleted confirmed reservation with no justification. No verification logged. And the strangest part? Not a single disciplinary note from the branch manager. No warnings. No internal memos. No escalations to corporate. Jerome's brow furrowed. He scrolled further. A familiar name popped up. Stephen Lane, branch manager. Well, Stephen, you're up next. He closed the laptop and stood. This time, no elevator. He took the stairs, every step grounding his anger, reminding him why he swore long ago he'd never let his empire become a place where people were judged by their clothes. Back on the lobby floor, the chandeliers still glittered. Kim was still at the desk, trying to wear a smile for guests as if nothing had happened. Jerome walked right past her, to the door that read, Manager's Office, Authorized Personnel Only. No knock. He pushed it open. The door swung wide. With a heavy creak, Jerome stepped inside, eyes scanning the room like lasers. Messy file racks, an open laptop with a half-finished Excel sheet, and a man behind the desk, Stephen Lane. He was mid-bite into a cold sandwich, scrolling his phone, chewing like he was on break in a staff lounge, not running one of the flagship hotels in the Wilson Lux Empire. When Stephen looked up and realized the man before him wasn't just another employee, he froze. Sorry, this area is for staff only." Jerome didn't say a word. He quietly shut the door behind him. The click of the lock echoed like a warning bell. Stephen blinked. Then he stood up so fast that his chair rolled back. Wait, who are—" Jerome removed his glasses and placed them on the desk. He didn't need to answer. His face did it for him, the same face that had appeared in Forbes, on CNBC, and on the Wilson Hospitality homepage. Jerome Wilson, founder, CEO, the man. Stephen's face turned white. "Oh my God, I didn't know. I had no idea you were coming." "No one did," Jerome replied, voice flat as a funeral drum. "That's the problem." Stephen began to stammer, sweat beading at his temples. "Mr. Wilson, I swear if I'd known, I would have prepared. I can assure you everything's under control." Jerome raised a hand. Silence. "Do you know a front desk agent named Kim?" Stephen swallowed hard. Yes, she's been with us a while. Bit firm with guests, but she deleted my reservation." Jerome cut in, eyes locked on him. "In front of me. No apology. No ID check. No second look. Just dismissal." "You know why she felt she could do that?" Stephen said nothing. Jerome stepped forward. His voice dropped lower. "Because she knows no one can touch her." Stephen opened his mouth to respond, but Jerome raised his phone. The screen lit up. Complaints, internal reports, data logs, and one highlighted line: Branch Manager Stephen Lane. 21 guest complaints tied directly to Kim over the past 6 months, 7 discrimination claims, 5 internal HR filings for abuse of power and harassment. "And do you know what you did about it?" Stephen hung his head. "Nothing," Jerome answered for him. "No reports, no investigations, no warnings, not a single escalation." Stephen looked up, panicked. I was afraid touching the issue would cause HR backlash. She's got ties upstairs. I was already reprimanded once for being too hard. On staff. I just wanted to keep the peace." "Peace?" Jerome laughed once, sharp, bitter. "You call that circus outside peace? Meanwhile, the founder of this entire chain gets treated like a street beggar. And my guests are insulted, ignored, dismissed, because we let people like her operate unchecked while you cower in this room." The silence that followed was thick enough to suffocate. Stephen couldn't meet his gaze. "Now listen carefully," Jerome continued, voice soft but razor-sharp. "You're going to walk out there, and you're going to fire Kim, right now, in front of everyone, guests and staff. And if you get one step of it wrong, just one, I will make sure you never set foot in another property with my name on the sign." Stephen hesitated for half a second, then nodded. Hard. Fast. "Yes. Yes, I will. I'll do it. Right away." Jerome opened the door and gestured toward the lobby. "Go on. Showtime." 3 minutes later, the hotel lobby was packed. Staff stood frozen like statues. Guests stopped eating, stopped talking. All eyes were fixed on the front desk, where Stephen Lane looked like a man about to face the firing squad standing across from Kim. "Kim," he began, voice trembling, "I have to inform you. You're being terminated, effective immediately." Kim's eyes widened. "What? For what? What did I do?" From behind, Jerome stood silently, arms crossed. Stephen glanced back at him, then returned his gaze to Kim. "You deleted a reservation, acted unprofessionally, refuse to cooperate with multiple investigations, and have accumulated an unacceptable number of complaints. You've had more than enough chances. This is final." "You're joking!" Kim shouted. "I've worked here for 3 years, never been written up." "Well, now it's your first," Jerome said, stepping forward. "And your last?" Kim turned to him, eyes burning with disbelief and fury. "Who the hell are you to butt into this?" Jerome smiled. "Me? I'm the guy whose reservation you deleted an hour ago, and if you're still wondering..." He pulled out his wallet, opened it, and held up a sleek black ID card. The Wilson Hospitality logo gleaming beneath the bold lettering, Founder and CEO. Jerome A. Wilson. Kim's mouth fell open, her face drained of all color. The lobby buzzed, with whispers. A few people gasped. Someone nearly dropped their phone while secretly filming. Kim didn't say another word. She ripped off her badge, slammed it on the desk, and stormed out, heels clacking in furious rhythm against the marble floor. Jerome didn't watch her leave. He simply muttered under his breath. And that's one more toxic piece. Gone. Back in the top floor suite. A room he had designed himself with a panoramic view of the city. Jerome didn't even glance out the window. He opened his laptop. The Wilson Hospitality intranet flared to life. Unread emails, missed calls from board members, urgent messages from the comms team. He skimmed past them. Then quietly, he opened the folder he had been building since the night before. Personnel. Files from this location, suppressed complaint logs, internal email threads between Stephen Lane and other regional managers, and most damning of all, a document labeled in red, Kim, Internal Protection Chain. He clicked it, and everything became disturbingly clear. Internal email, Katuan 20, from Cassandra R. Regional VP of HR to Stephen Lane. Kim is my sister-in-law. I don't want to see another complaint about her. If anything comes up, handle it internally. Do not escalate to HQ. She's just a bit overwhelmed. Let's be flexible. Understood? Jerome narrowed his eyes. Cassandra R., the regional HR VP. She had shielded Kim from consequences. And Stephen? Just a weak pawn in a dirty power game. He kept scrolling. Internal email, Yanchuan1231, from Stephen Lane, to Cassandra R. Understood. I've deleted all complaint records regarding Kim as instructed. However, guest reactions are escalating. I'm concerned that if this reaches Mr. Jerome, reply from Cassandra. You worry too much. He doesn't pay attention to small stuff at the branch level. Just keep things quiet. Jerome's jaw tightened. You think I'm blind? Without hesitation, he launched Zoom and scheduled an emergency. All-hands meeting for the entire executive leadership team. Mandatory attendance. Within the hour. No exceptions. 1 hour later, executive boardroom, Wilson Hospitality Headquarters. 17 people sat around the long conference table. Operations, finance, legal, PR, and every regional director. Cassandra R. was there too, calm, composed, as if she were walking into another routine strategic briefing. Jerome entered, no suit, no tie, just a dark gray sweater and an expression that froze the entire room. Good morning, he said, voice steady. I won't waste time with pleasantries. He tapped a button. Kim, Internal Protection Chain, lit up on the main screen. Internal emails, suppressed complaints, direct orders to bury the truth. Cassandra stiffened. Jerome turned to her. Cassandra, would you like to explain why you instructed subordinates to delete discrimination complaints? Silence. Mr. Wilson, she began. I think you may have. Misunderstood. Oh? Jerome nodded. I misunderstood? Let's clear that up. He hit play. A recording from the manager's office. Stephen Lane's voice boomed over the speakers. I was just following her orders. She threatened to cut my bonus. I didn't want to lose my job. Cassandra turned pale. Other executives glanced at each other, panic setting in. This isn't about a girl named Kim, Jerome said, voice now metallic. or a weak manager like Steven. This is about a system. This system, protecting wrongdoing and trampling over our guests, the very people who pay all our salaries. He walked slowly to the head of the table. I used to think I could run this company on trust, that all of you would do what's right. But last night, I was treated like garbage in a hotel I built, and it made something painfully clear. He paused, scanning every face in the room. It's time to flip the entire board. Jerome placed a folder on the table. Today, I'm making 3 decisions. Effective immediately, Cassandra R. is terminated for obstruction and covering up internal investigations. The entire regional HR department is being restructured. A new, independent compliance unit will report directly to me. A full system audit begins today. Not just financials, but culture, guest experience, and internal ethics. He paused. I don't need people who know how to sweep trash under rugs. I need people who lift the whole rug up and clean what's underneath. No one spoke. One executive quietly took out their phone, canceling their afternoon meetings. They knew. This day wasn't ending anytime soon. Jerome turned and walked out, the heavy boardroom doors slamming shut behind him, leaving behind a shaken leadership team, and a new chapter is already unfolding. 3 days later, Wilson Hospitality, HQ, the headquarters, was no longer filled with surface smiles and hollow reports. Tension lingered in the air like static. It was as if everyone was holding their breath and waiting to see what Jerome would do next. He didn't keep them waiting. AM, Chairman's office. Jerome stood before a giant whiteboard, black marker in hand. Drawn across it, 93 hotels, over 6,000 staff. Hundreds of active complaint reviews. Across from him sat Karen Lee, a former executive who had been ousted 2 years ago for not aligning with the new company culture. Now, she was his secret weapon. We don't need patchwork, Jerome said. We need to tear down and rebuild wherever rot has set in. Karen nodded, pulling a folder from her case. I reviewed the 17 hotels with the highest complaint ratios. Same pattern in everyone. Poor training, weak or compromised local management. A culture of as long as KPIs are clean, we survive. Jerome leaned back. Good. Form a rapid response team, 10 people, elite, you handpick them. Starting tomorrow, I want boots on the ground in each of those properties, like a special investigation unit. Karen raised a brow. Anonymous? Jerome smiled. At first, yes, but when the time is right, let them know exactly who is standing behind those doors. That afternoon, back at the hotel where it all began, Megan, the newly transferred front desk agent temporarily replacing Kim, was fumbling through the reservation system when the phone rang. Good afternoon, Wilson Grand Plaza. This is Megan. How can I assist you? On the other end, a cold, sharp voice answered, I want to book 20 rooms for a VIP group. But first, tell me, does your hotel still treat black guests like garbage? Megan froze. Her heart raced. She struggled for words until a familiar voice spoke from behind her. Give me the phone. It was Jerome. He had just arrived, unannounced, wearing a simple polo shirt, face calm, eyes like steel. Good evening, he said into the receiver. This is Jerome Wilson, founder of this company. I apologize for anything you may have experienced in the past. But if you give me one chance, I'll show you that decency still lives here. There was a pause on the line. Then, I'll make the booking. You keep your word, Mr. Wilson. Click. Jerome turned to Megan. Good. Note the guest's name. Send it to me. You just helped de-escalate a potential PR crisis. Megan swallowed. Hard. Yes, sir. Thank you. Later, Jerome entered the cramped back room that housed the security cameras and complaint files. It reeked of mildew. The system was ancient. Grainy VGA feeds from a decade ago. He scowled. We charge $500 a night, and this is what we use to monitor quality? He immediately pulled out his phone. Get tech on the line. By tomorrow, I want a full AI suite. Installed. Facial emotion recognition. Voice tone analysis. If a guest shows frustration, I want red alerts instantly. And another thing, he added, from now on, complaints don't go through local managers. They go through a secure anonymous channel connected directly to me. That evening, staff meeting, all departments present. Jerome didn't stand on a podium. He sat in the middle of the room, on a folding chair with a paper coffee cup, like everyone else. I'm not here to scold anyone, he began. I'm here to listen. But I need you to be honest. Who here was ever disrespected by Kim? More than half the room raised their hands. Who's seen guests turned away? For vague or unfair reasons. A few trembling hands joined them. Jerome nodded. Thank you. Starting tomorrow, every verified internal report gets a $200 reward. Whistleblower protection is guaranteed. No one gets punished for speaking up. One woman wiped her eyes. It wasn't about the money. It was because, finally, someone was listening. Jerome ended the meeting with a vow. You've kept this hotel alive, while those in cushy offices were busy wrecking it. But starting today, we rebuild, and I won't leave until everyone here feels respected. Megan broke down in tears. Connor, a young security guard, stood up and clapped. Then the room erupted into applause, not for fame, but because trust had returned. On the surface, things were turning around. Employees smiled with genuine smiles. Guests left compliments instead of complaints. The complaint system worked. Other branches began adopting Jerome's rapid response model. But behind the scenes, a silent revenge was brewing. An anonymous email was sent. Subject: Jerome's empire is cracking. Recipient: a viral financial blogger known for exposing CEOs. Attachment: an edited audio clip. In it, a voice sounding like Jerome's screamed at an employee. The final line? I don't care how you feel. Just shut up and do your job. The email ended in bold. The one who truly deserves to be fired is Jerome Wilson. The next morning, social media exploded. Jerome toxic. Wilson gate. The CEO unmasked from Twitter to Reddit. People questioned whether the compassionate CEO was just a facade. A viral AI analysis claimed 80% voice match with Jerome Wilson. Wilson Hospitality's comms office spiraled into chaos. Board members sent urgent emails. Reporters gathered outside the company gates. And Jerome? He sat in his office, eerily calm. Karen barged in, slamming a printout of the leaked email on his desk. They're coming for you, she said, voice like granite. If we don't strike back fast, this scandal could sink everything. Jerome didn't respond. He simply rotated his laptop screen to her and hit play. A security video, recorded by the upgraded AI system he installed on day one. In it, Stephen Lane, the disgraced former manager and a former tech staffer. Splicing together. Audio files. Crystal clear evidence. Unmistakable. Jerome turned to Karen and nodded. Get ready. We strike back. Press room. Wilson Hospitality headquarters. The room buzzed with reporters expecting an apology. A justification. Damage control. Jerome stepped onto the stage. Black suit, clear eyes. I know many of you have questions. I'm here to answer them with one thing only. The truth. He clicked the remote. The screen came alive. Video footage played. Stephen Lane. Audio manipulation. Fraud captured in real time. Gasps. Shouts. Phones recording. Jerome spoke. This is the price you pay when you challenge people who thrive in a rotten system. But I'm not backing down. I didn't build Wilson Hospitality to bow to the filth. He ended his statement with a line that made waves across the internet. If kindness is mistaken for weakness, then today I declare, kindness will be the most powerful weapon we wield. An internal email from the CEO sent to all employees. Have you ever felt dismissed? Humiliated? Overlooked because you weren't important enough? I understand, because I just lived through that too. But I promise you this. From this, Day forward, we stand together. No darkness is too deep to dim the light of truth. Jerome was reading through documents when a thin white envelope slid quietly under his office door. No sender, no name. Inside, a list, 7 names. All senior managers, all known defenders of Kim and Stephen. All are still holding critical positions across key branches, scrawled at the bottom in shaky handwriting. "You've only scraped the surface of the iceberg," Jerome smirked. "Then it's time I break the ice." The next morning, Jerome arrived before sunrise. The city was still asleep, but his mind was already wide awake, mapping out a silent war. 7 names, 7 links, 7 hands that helped twist his empire into a power-hungry, toxic shell. He didn't call the police. He didn't file lawsuits. No board meetings. Instead, he deployed an old but lethal strategy. Expose the truth. Let it speak for itself. Karen, his trusted right hand, began reaching out to the branches connected to the 7. All routine performance check-ins were moved to video calls for transparency purposes. Within 48 hours, a complete sweep was underway. Internal camera footage, KPI irregularities, anonymous employee feedback, suppressed guest complaints. The results? The so-called Senior Leadership Alliance was nothing more than a self-protecting cartel. Honest candidates were systematically blocked in favor of cronies. Complaints were erased. Financial reports were manipulated. One name in particular stood out. Amanda Wexley, regional director, caught receiving thank-you wire transfers from a hotel contractor she awarded a remodeling deal to. Thursday. Athena boardroom, HQ. Jerome sat alone. 7 thick envelopes in front of him, each one a dossier of evidence. He summoned them, no prior notice. They entered, unaware this would be their final appearance in a Wilson hospitality boardroom. "Please, sit," Jerome said calmly. His fingers tapped rhythmically on a silver fountain pen. Each envelope, one person, each envelope, the truth. And each truth, the reason you no longer have a place here. A long, deadly pause. Then chaos. "This is fabricated. You're on a witch hunt. We have the right to legal counsel." Jerome nodded, smiling faintly. "Of course, you're entitled to counsel after signing your mandatory resignations." He stood and placed a termination agreement, pre-cleared by legal, in front of each of them. Every file had names crossed in red ink, annotated with labels like abuse of authority, personnel, manipulation, internal collusion, ethics violations. Karen handed out the final envelopes, revoked system access notices. The news broke instantly. 7 senior Wilson execs dismissed. CEO says, "We're cleaning house." Jerome Wilson shakes the hospitality industry. Again, social media cheered. Employees from dozens of branches sent hundreds of thank you emails. Inside the company, an earthquake. Employees previously sidelined for promotions were called in for reconsideration. HR launched Project Fairness, re-evaluating all promotions from the past 3 years. The anonymous whistleblower, the one who exposed Kim, received a secret dinner invite from Jerome himself. He offered them a position as internal ethics advisor. Jerome's final message of the day, sent to the entire company. Truth is never the enemy. It's simply what the corrupt fear most. Week 3. After the hotel scandal. Wilson Hospitality no longer resembled a corporation. It looked like an army rebuilding after a war. The headquarters was plastered with internal announcements. Nominate April's Kindness Champion. The anonymous workplace survey, just 3 minutes. CEO Wilson will personally answer every staff email for 7 consecutive days. A new energy swept through the organization. But Jerome knew, cleansing alone wasn't enough. Nationwide video call, over 18,000 Wilson Hospitality employees logged on, from front desk staff and housekeeping supervisors to executive chefs and IT technicians. On screen, Jerome Wilson. No suit, no tie, just a rolled-up shirt, natural light, and a blackboard behind him that read, "Truth, Accountability, People." He looked straight into the camera and began, "Some of you may have asked yourselves these past few weeks, where are we heading? I'm not here to answer as your CEO. I'm here as someone who was made invisible by the very company he built." He paused. The silence was deafening. "I used to think leadership was about big decisions, speaking to shareholders, launching new products, but real leadership is when nobody knows you're the boss and you still step in to save someone from injustice." Then came 3 unprecedented declarations. 1. Establishment of the Core Values Protection Council, made up of frontline staff nominated by their peers. They were given veto power over any policy that could foster a toxic environment. 2. Creation of the $10 Opportunity Restoration Fund, dedicated to employees who had been unfairly evaluated, pushed out, or denied promotions due to workplace politics. 3. Relaunch of the Invisible No More program. Every month, one senior leader would go undercover at a random branch, just as Jerome once had. All observations would be compiled and reported directly to the CEO. Immediately after his speech, the screen cut to a video. Jerome was walking down the hallway of another hotel. This time, the one previously rated the worst in the Northeast region. He wasn't in disguise. No hidden cameras. Just him, visible and present. A young front desk clerk looked up, stunned. "Why did you come here?" "Personally," she asked softly. Jerome smiled and replied, "Because if I didn't show up, who would have heard your voice?" That night, a special email was sent. From Jerome Wilson. Subject: "Who's the last person you saw being dismissed or disrespected in this company?" He didn't ask for replies. He just wrote one more line. "Say it out loud." We're ready to listen now. 6 months later, a reborn system. Kim had been blacklisted across the industry. Stephen, the once negligent manager, was now driving taxis in Florida. Jasmine, the anonymous whistleblower who exposed Kim, had been promoted to regional operations associate director. The scandal-ridden hotel, now ranked top 10 nationwide for guest satisfaction. Revenue? Up 22%. But more importantly, the Employee Happiness Index rose by 49%. Jerome Wilson didn't just rebuild an empire. He rewrote what it meant to be a leader, not with power, not with money, but with presence, when everyone else had turned away. Never underestimate someone just because you don't know who they are. Because sometimes, the person you ignore is the one holding your fate in their hands.